IPPS-A leads the way. IPPS-A. One system, personnel, and pay. IPPS-A.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? And thank you for joining us for the IPPS-A Podcast, where we give you updates on what is going on with the program. I'm Sergeant Major Paul Smith, IPPS-A Senior Enlisted Advisor. Today, I am joined by CW3 Chris Akbaroff, IPPS-A Promotions Design Lead, and Master Sergeant Robert Simmons, NCO for the IPPS-A Finance team. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for inviting me back, Sergeant Major.
All right, so not that it's really any different from any other month, but we've had another busy month here with IPPS-A. We continue to move the ball up the field as we drive change. So let's see what's happened lately. We made some performance enhancements to run dashboard on regular basis for reporting, so that's pretty good. We've made a mass update available for special duty assignment, parachute, and halo pay. That should make the lives of some HR pros a little better. And it's now possible to make real-time updates to S1 and UDL pool workflows. Soldiers that have been through an evaluation board can also now see their OML and IPPS-A, so that's a pretty big deal. Another significant update we have pushed this month is the new promotions PAR framework. I wanted to have Chief Akbaroff here to share the latest news from the promotions team and give us some insight into what this new framework means for users. Chief, can you break it down for me a bit? What has your team been working on lately?
Well, our big one that we just finished was that promotion PAR framework. OML, as you mentioned earlier, there are fixes that we also do. So, when folks have issues with, let's say, promotion points, for instance, we are actually listening and actually getting after those items.
Okay, so that sounds good. So what can you tell the listeners about this new PAR framework and the overall concept of what this change actually means?
So without getting too far into like the nerdy stuff, our old PAR used a different type of functionality from PeopleSoft, and putting promotions into the PAR framework, which is activity guide, it aligns all of our PARs with the rest of what all the other PARs do. So it has the same look and feel, and it gives that same familiarity between all the PARs that we have.
Okay, that makes sense. So why should this excite our HR pros out there? What are some of the enhancements that we're going to see, and how do we think this new framework is going to help them?
Well, one of the things I think will really help is just it's going to have fewer issues with it. We were experiencing a lot of technical difficulties with the old PAR forms is what it was called. And with the new PAR framework and knowing that most of our other PARs work pretty well, getting the promotions, demotions, and lateral appointment PARs into that framework means that we're going to be able to enjoy the same level of work and the good term I want to use, reliability, essentially. Also, I think it will make it a little bit easier to do amendments and revocations. With this PAR, actually a good one I want to mention out is for revocations. Typically, when somebody revokes an action, what'll happen in job data, our favorite location in IPPS-A, the system used to create a demotion action on top of that promotion. So it essentially cancels it out. Now we got smart and we're going to delete that promotion action so it keeps job clean and makes it easier to make updates, especially if you're backdating an action and that sort of thing. We added appointments. Right now, it's just for general officers. So for all of our folks, all of our listeners who are lieutenant general or general, note that when we appoint you to that grade, it is a specific action. But we are going to use that new functionality to leverage being able to do reappointments for other officers. So if you're, branch transferring and with a concurrent reappointment into that new branch, we can easily make that grade change without it being a promotion. So overall, I think with increased reliability, better function when it creates that promotion. And then to me, I think it's a little bit easier to use going through the activity guide pieces and doing those amendments and revocations. It's all going to be a one-stop shop type of thing.
So, that's really, I do appreciate that because, we were really kind of forced into, building, IPPS-A as a majority as a minimal viable solution. And now what we're trying to do is kind of pivot and figure out how we can make the system a little better, a little easier, a little more user friendly. So I'm sure people are going to be stoked about that. Knowing we have been doing a lot of changes to the system lately, and change is pretty hard to deal with a lot. So are these changes going to be easy for our HR pros out there to adapt to? Like, are they going to fully comprehend this new PAR?
I think so. With any change, there's probably going to be a little bit of hiccups here and there. I think we as an organization, once we kind of find our groove, we like to stay in that groove. But I don't think that this new PAR pulls us out so much because we do have that familiarity with how PAR functions in all of our other PAR types.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. We always have bumps and bruises when things change. We figure it out, we adapt, we overcome. So that's good. All right. So just talking from your foxhole here, what do you think the Army really has to gain with this change?
Again, it's just going to be reliability. One of the other things that's probably not something that is readily apparent to the end user, but more at the enterprise level when we need to make changes to PAR, using the PAR framework that every other Epic is using or every other product team is using, would make it easier for us to make enhancements and changes that we need to. So, for now, promotion, demotion, lateral appointments are fairly open. There are some business rules in place to keep people where they need to go. But if we need to either further restrict that down, open that up a little bit, or add other new functions that we don't know we need yet, being in framework allows us to that flexibility. So again, not necessarily useful to the end user. I mean, you will feel that the end user will feel the benefits of that, but from an enterprise level where we're trying to actually make those changes that HRC or DMPM or the other two components would ask us for, we'll be able to actually make those happen.
Chief, that actually makes a lot of sense. I appreciate, again, we're building into the system how to better flex when we have to make these changes to things internally. Users might not always see all the hard work that are going into it, but some of the things that the team's doing does help improve how we can flex and how we can quickly make these updates to help the end user. So there seems to be a ton of goodness coming out of that. I also know that the promotions team has been extremely busy the last year with the changes that have gone on with enlisted promotions. What can we expect from the crew over the next several months?
So a couple big things that I think are going to be helpful to the field and helpful to some of our enterprise level HR professionals. So one is going to be we're making some big changes to how we automate the logic for determining promotion dates for our first lieutenants. So we were graced with having some really complex rules for determining that when a second lieutenant gets promoted to first lieutenant. So we've been working with HRC to kind of update those things. So for all of our lieutenants out there, what we're trying to do is make sure that you guys get promoted at the right time, pursuant to current regulation. And then another one I think that's worth noting is a update on Conger or control grade. So control grade is really used for assignments, but it has applicability to promotions. So for our officers, when they are selected for promotion but not yet promoted, we will automatically update Conger to reflect that new grade. So we know that from an assignment standpoint, we can move folks around. For our enlisted folks, we're also going to start using that same Conger piece. And if there's going to be any automation on when to Conger up, essentially, an individual, we'll be able to handle that too. So I think that'll help with assignments and making sure that folks get assigned to the correct position based on either their current grade or the grade that they are aspiring to and should be promoted to within the next few months or however long. So from our foxhole, I think that those are the two major things that you'll see coming down.
All right, I appreciate all that, Chief, and all the hard work that's going on with your team. And with all the things that are going on with the marketplace, I really do believe that that Congress is going to play a big part, especially with the marketplace and how we design the assignment process within IPPS-A. All right, so now let's bring in Master Sergeant Simmons to give us the latest and greatest going on in the finance realm within IPPS-A. I think everyone wants to probably talk about handling PCS absences since there has been some confusion in the field lately. Master Sergeant Simmons, what's the good word? What has the team been working on?
Yeah, so we found some opportunity to enhance the system recently when we found that folks were out there struggling, trying to figure out, hey, does the admin absence go before the PCS absence? We kind of outlined it in the user guide, but we thought, hey, this is a great opportunity for us to be able to A, update the in-transit grid, and B, be able to give folks a streamlined process and make things much faster for them to do their PCS absences. Sorry, Major.
No, that makes sense. And I know there was a lot of confusion and we've been changing things and they're all for good. And like I said before, change is hard. Anytime you change and you get familiar with something and you change something again, there's some frustration that goes out in the field, but I think they'll see the good in it. It sounds like there were some necessary change that needed to happen based on what we were hearing out there. How has the IPPS-A team improved PCS absences?
So what we did was we created a specific PCS type just for everybody to just go in there, create one transaction. So it brings you a few transactions. So number one, you don't have to flip from PCS absence to admin absence. You can enter all of that on one transaction. It doesn't matter the dates, they're interchangeable. And then the other piece is when you populate your related assignment, it has the dates in there for you to be able to know which assignment that you're on and which assignment you should be using to create your absence. Sorry, Major.
And I know that's going to be really helpful because I know there was a lot of problems with, the in-transit grid and when you can depart somebody and therefore preventing people from arriving. So I know that hard work is probably going to improve a lot of things. So what should the field know about handling PCS absences and IPPS-A, and what are some of the common issues you're hearing about?
All right, so some of the most common issues stem from folks understanding the relationship between the absence module and the in-transit grid and when they're arriving a member. So essentially the issue comes from HR pros and members entering the absence. So these are some things I just want to know. When a member enters their absence, they must enter the full length of the in-transit period from the time they plan to depart to the date prior to the assignment arrival. So even if they plan on arriving early, they need to capture that period. That's a huge thing. The other piece is in the in-transit grid, it starts calculating when you depart the member. So a lot of times HR pros are seeing changes while the absence is in flight, and then they try to arrive the member and they're trying to figure out, hey, why is this not calculating? It's because the calculation starts once they departed. So it's simply that when they go in and revoke the departure, redepart the member, then the calculation will start again. The last piece I want to mention, if you do not plan on taking an absence in between your PCS assignment, you must take at least the authorized travel dates. The in-transit grid will auto-calculate those days so you're not charged for them, but they have to be entered in there in order for the grid to work, Sergeant Major.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We're going to get better, right? We're kind of in the honeymoon phase still of IPPS-A, and we're learning there and we're getting better. I'm sure that there's lots of improvements. It's just, familiarity breeds, success. So any insight that can clear up any confusion for HR pros about PCS absences?
The biggest thing is we have a number of resources that you guys can get a hold of. Just check out the resources, and that definitely will help out members.
All right, so you said it. We've got a ton of great resources for navigating IPPS-A. So what resources in particular do you think everyone should use for handling those PCS absences?
All right, so number one, Drive the Change. Drive the Change has a number of resources that will allow a member to understand when changes are coming. We also have the paid and in-transit grid guide. If you check out chapter 3, it kind of focuses in on the PCS absence, and you can definitely see that. Also, we have a meal pay user guide, and it will be updated soon, so ensure that you check out that, and then all of the resources on the IPPS-A website, Sergeant Major.
Great, so that's helpful. Another plug out to Drive the Change. So Every time we do a release, the day after, we're demoing it. This is your opportunity to talk to the people that produce these products, ask the questions. But if you can't go there because your battle rhythm doesn't support it, just know that we record it. You can go back and see it. So what can we expect to see in the future? Any exciting enhancements your team has planned for absences?
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys have been dropping enhancement tickets in CRM and we've been listening. So two big things that's coming up is you'll now see those dates that you enter in as your absence. They will populate in the future. Also, what we're going to be doing is bringing in some information from the pay system to be able to show folks how many absence days that they actually have remaining. So those are the two hot topics that we got coming up soon, Sergeant Major.
All right. Hey, I appreciate that, Master Sergeant Simmons. All right. So before I wrap things up, do either of you have any final words for our audience? We'll start with Chief Akbaroff.
Even though there's enhanced PAR functionality, that still doesn't take away from, HR professionals still being cognizant of what they're doing. So if you're backdating a promotion or doing something, trying to correct, make sure that you're looking at job data and that what you're trying to do aligns with the actual outcome. Make sure your promotion effective dates, these rank entry dates, grade entry dates all match.
I think I'm hearing attention to detail is very important in IPPS-A.
Yeah, no, it always is. And, look at those user guys. I think what you're saying is great. Nothing wrong with asking your battle buddies, but, don't let everybody else be your quick answer, right? Because you doing a little bit of that legwork is probably going to go a lot farther in building that muscle memory for next time versus just asking somebody and having somebody who gives you a quick answer that might be the wrong answer.
What you got for us, Master Sergeant Simmons?
Hey, it's really about initiative. I think everybody is doing a great job because the system is changing and staying up to date. And the Army is only as successful as the members that it has and their ability to be flexible and change. And I appreciate everybody's initiative to do that.
As far as my final thoughts here, we mentioned it. So get into the user manual, get into the training aids, use those guides. I know the easy button might be that social media and ask those questions, but we have to really be cognizant that those questions are only good as how they're being answered. And oftentimes what we see is those questions are not answered properly. The right answers are in the doctrine that we're providing you. So please lean into that. There's nothing wrong with that family that we have on social media, but we need to get proficient in our craft. So I challenge you all, before you ask those questions there, look at those documents to see if the answers are there. And if not, put those requests in. Let us know where we're at. All right, so that's it for this episode. Thank you all for listening. Until next time, keep driving the change we need in our Army.
Soldier, right job, right on time.
24/7, 365.